Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into what is easily one of the most ruthless, provocative, and honestly fascinating concepts from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. We're zeroing in on Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. I know, it sounds totally unfair on the surface, and, well, it kinda is, but understanding this dynamic is absolutely essential if you want to navigate the modern world without getting eaten alive.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because the reality of human dynamics, it's literally like a jungle out there. So I want you to ask yourself a pretty harsh question. Would you rather be the prey devoured by the beast or the ruthless beast doing the devouring? People who actively pursue power, they just see relationships differently. And to protect ourselves, we have to understand their playbook inside and out.
Think about the difference between a totally exhausted hunter, the guy running himself ragged just to make the kill, and the clever vulture. The vulture just hovers up there, saves all its energy, and then swoops down to eat the hunter's leftovers. There's this brilliant old African fable that anchors this concept perfectly. A tiny turtle challenges an elephant and a hippo to a tug of war. The turtle gives one end of a really long rope to the hippo down in the river, and the other end to the elephant way up on the hill. Then, the turtle hides in the bushes and just yells, "Paul!" The elephant and hippo completely exhaust themselves for hours, sweating and struggling against each other's massive weight. So who did all the heavy lifting? The giants, obviously. But who got the credit for being impossibly strong? The clever little turtle.
Which brings us to the core law itself. Law 7 dictates that you must use the wisdom, knowledge, and legwork of other people to further your own cause. Doing this doesn't just save you valuable time and energy, it actually gives you this godlike aura of speed and efficiency. Ultimately, your helpers fade into the background and are forgotten, while you are remembered as the genius. Now, I know this sounds incredibly harsh, but it's a brutal reality of the power game, and understanding it is quite frankly the only way you can protect yourself from becoming someone else's stepping stone.
Let's look at Section 1, the Tesla trap. So what happens when you completely ignore this law? Well, the results can be pretty tragic. Let's look at a classic historical example. Back in 1884, the brilliant but, let's face it, somewhat naive inventor Nikola Tesla went to work for Thomas Edison. Now, Edison was really struggling with his direct current, or DC generators. They were terribly inefficient. So Edison offers Tesla $50,000 if he could redesign them. And Tesla took the bait. He worked 18-hour days, literally pouring his blood, sweat, and tears into this project for an entire year. And the crazy thing is, he actually solved the seemingly impossible problem. But when he went to collect his promised reward, Edison just laughed. He told Tesla, "You don't understand our American humor," and offered him a tiny little raise instead. All the grueling hard work was Tesla's, but the credit, the patents, and the profits, those went straight to Edison's company. And man, Tesla's failure to protect his work didn't even stop there. What's really interesting about this next part is that years later, Tesla partnered with George Westinghouse to promote his superior alternating current system. Westinghouse actually signed a super generous royalty contract with Tesla. But when the company faced a hostile takeover bid and a ton of financial pressure from bankers, Westinghouse practically begged him for help. Out of pure emotion and this desperate desire to just see his invention succeed, Tesla tore up his own royalty contract. He threw away an estimated $12 million in royalties, which, by the way, would be billions today. Tesla eventually died in poverty, while other people got incredibly rich off his genius. It really all boils down to this fundamental difference between being the scientist and being the inventor. Tesla was the pure scientist. He just wanted to discover the truth, do the work in the shadows, and he genuinely believed science shouldn't be political at all. And because of that mindset, he was completely exploited. Edison, on the other hand, was the inventor and the ruthless businessman. Edison openly admitted to stealing ideas, but here's the thing. He knew exactly how to package the product, patent it, market it, and most importantly, take all the credit. In the game of power, getting the credit for a creation is often way more important than the creation itself.
Moving right along to Section 2, the art of smart delegation.
Now, you can actually use this law systemically to your advantage without necessarily being malicious about it. And this brilliantly illustrates how the 17th century artist Peter Paul Rubens pulled it off. Rubens had way more commissions from royalty than you could ever possibly paint in a single lifetime. So what did he do? He built a system. He hired these unknown master artists, and each one had a highly specific specialty. One guy only painted robes, another guy only painted backgrounds, a third only painted animals. Rubens would simply whip up the initial sketch, his team would quietly do about 90% of the grueling, time-consuming work, and then Rubens would step back in, add a few final masterful touches, and sign his name.
Clients visiting his studio were utterly amazed at his seemingly superhuman speed, and he walked away with 100% of the money and the glory. And look, we see this exact same principle dominating the modern corporate world today. Think about that iconic image of Steve Jobs presenting the very first iPhone. Steve Jobs didn't write the code. He didn't sit there soldering the hardware. He had thousands of brilliant engineers, basically the modern version of Rubens' specialized painters, doing all the grueling grunt work behind the scenes. But by being the undisputed face of the project, standing on that stage and presenting the whole shebang as his vision, Jobs took the credit as a visionary leader. If you want to be perceived as a genius, you absolutely must position yourself as the face of the final product. But borrowing power isn't just about managing the people working right under you. As Otto von Bismarck so famously observed, fools say that they learn by experience. I prefer to profit by others' experience. You can literally steal from the past. Isaac Newton famously said he saw further by standing on the shoulders of giants. Shakespeare ruthlessly borrowed plots and characters from older writers. I mean, why slog through life making endless mistakes when you can leverage the vast storehouse of ancient wisdom and appear to be an absolute genius from day one? Which brings us to section 3, guarding your hard work. Listen, if you don't fiercely protect your own ideas, the fallout can be disastrous, and I mean that literally. Back in 1513, the Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa did the impossible. He crossed the deadly, disease-ridden jungles of Panama, survived vicious battles, and actually discovered the Pacific Ocean, along with all these rumors of boundless Inca gold. He did all the grueling legwork, but a few weeks later, he made a fatal mistake. He boasted publicly about his discoveries. Months later, a quiet, calculating soldier in his very own army named Francisco Pizarro just listened, remembered everything, and quietly plotted with a jealous governor. Fast forward to 1519, Pizarro has Balboa executed on entirely false charges. Pizarro then takes Balboa's exact maps and routes, conquers the Inca Empire, claims all the immense wealth, and secures his place in history. And Balboa? He was left as nothing but a forgotten footnote. Let's look at the flip side in section 4, the strategic reversal. So, the crucial point is, this law isn't just some simple one-way street of stealing credit. There's actually a deep strategic nuance here. Sometimes true power means deliberately giving the credit away. It is highly dangerous to outshine your master, right? If your boss is insecure, taking all the credit for a joint success can very easily get you fired. Just look at Henry Kissinger and Richard Nixon. In the 1970s, it was Kissinger who did all the brilliant, top-secret diplomatic legwork to orchestrate the historic U.S. trip to China. But Kissinger knew Nixon was deeply insecure. So what did he do? He stepped back and let Nixon take all the public credit as the great global peacemaker. By giving the credit upward to his boss, Kissinger ensured his own political survival, gained even more power behind the scenes, and safely took credit downward from his own stuff. All right, let's pull all this together with some highly actionable defensive strategies for your own career. How do you actually protect yourself from the vultures out there? First, find the right talent to leverage. Create scenarios where they get the valuable experience and you get the completed project. Second, be the face of the project. Whenever there's a big presentation, make absolutely sure you are front and center. Third, delegate that grunt work so you can conserve your vital energy for the big picture. And fourth, and this is exactly where Tesla failed so miserably, document all work in your name. Secure the patents, get the contracts in writing, and leave a totally undeniable paper trail that proves your ownership. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. Look around your workplace, look at your current projects, and ask yourself honestly, are you the vulture hovering above, strategically saving your energy to claim the ultimate prize? Or are you the prey, doing all the heavy lifting, just waiting to be devoured? The game of power is being played around you every single day. Whether you want it to be or not, it's really up to you to decide which role you're going to play. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into Law 7, and keep questioning the dynamics around you.